Hey everyone, it's Froggy and I'm back again with some more Willow Wonderful World! I wanted to change up the opening. Did it work? Do you like it better? I don't even know. Let's do this. The final goodbye. What? I sat in the exam room of the hospital. My fingers kept tapping my knees. Maybe it was because of my past experiences, but any time that I had to deal with the hospital, I would always worry about the worst outcome. After a long while, the doctor finally came in. He closed the door and sat down in front of me. My hands clenched into fists. He opened the test results and read through them. Then he looked up from the document and stared at me. What is your relationship with her? The diagnosis is stomach cancer. I was stunned. It really was the worst outcome. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't really remember what the doctor had said afterwards. I'm sorry, my cat is angrily chasing his tail at the most inconvenient time. It's adorable to watch, but... I took the test results and went back to the patient's room. I looked at her, still sound asleep. I wonder if she would just keep smiling like this. Maybe she would never wake up again. Yang Ying had told me her story. She had been all alone, with no family for a long time, just like me. And now, with this diagnosis, she would have to deal with this all by herself. I could see her bright eyes looking into mine in the flickering candle lights. I crumpled the test results in my hand. Wen Zhaoren. Is this when he was a young man? I sat on the steps of the hospital stunned. I thought the doctor was going to tell me about her condition, but he had given me the test results from my previous hospital stay. About a month ago, I had been in a fight with someone. I had been a little rusty and too hot-headed, and one of my ribs was broken. I had to ask for sick leave from the school because I had to stay in the hospital for a while. Oh. The doctor was very attentive. After I recovered, he suggested that I get a full physical. I realized that I hadn't had a physical for a long time, so I thought I might as well get one. Little did I know that I would be getting such a surprise. It had gone dark outside now. I picked up the test results, got up, and went back to the patient's room. The nurse must have just taken her temperature, as I saw Li Wen's hands hanging outside of the sheets. Her collar was messed up. I carefully tucked her hands back under the sheets, trying not to wake her up. Aww. She seemed to be dreaming. She suddenly turned her face to the side and mumbled something. Her face was only inches away from mine. I couldn't move for a second, and I remembered what had happened the day I fainted in my apartment. Even though my heart had stopped, and I hadn't been breathing, I had been conscious. I felt someone pressing on my chest. I felt someone yelling my name. I felt someone. I knew it was her, but I couldn't move at all. No, actually I could. But I was thinking perhaps I could just let go. And all of this would be over. However, when I heard her crying, my heart suddenly bounced. I opened my eyes with all the strength that I had, and I saw her sobbing uncontrollably. Why would she care so much about someone who she barely knew? Why? And I suddenly realized the reason. Why I had cared about her so much. We were just like each other. We must have similar pasts. My strength started coming back to my body. I grabbed her hand as soon as I could, and just so that I could tell her I was okay. I didn't want to see her sad. A buzz from my cell phone pulled me back from my thoughts. I had a text message. I walked out of the room, leaned on the wall in the hallway, and opened my inbox. It was from Yang Ying. She had received my text about my condition, and she wanted to see me at the coffee house later. I pressed the delete button. It had been a habit of mine for a very long time. I always deleted my texts as soon as I read them. I would always get annoyed if I had too many texts in my inbox. There were 4 other texts left in the inbox. It's raining. Remember to bring an umbrella with you if you're heading out, Mr. Wen. Deleted. There was a book signing at the west entrance right now. I just bought an art collection book. I think it's going to be sold out soon, Mr. Wen. Would you like me to buy you a copy? Deleted. The art show today is really cool. Thanks so much for the ticket, Mr. Wen. I'm in the gift shop near the north entrance right now. They have a lot of cute little things here. Are you coming today too, Mr. Wen? Deleted. Mr. Wen, I'm about to head back. Thank you again. Deleted. Well, it seems like he's got feelings for her, which is good. So it could have been stomach cancer, but it wasn't. Attempted suicide, became a teacher at Yingnan High School. Rob fainted, diagnosed with stomach cancer. Okay, so this did happen. So he's got stomach cancer. That's not good. Let's do another one.
하나님, 나를 도와주세요.
Okay, it's the kid.
젠장, 어떻게 이럴 수가.
And also, Lieutenant Kang. I want to know about both of them, but I'm most interested in the kid because we haven't heard from him in a while, and I want to make sure he's, like, okay. My name is Park Sang-gun, and I'm 14 years old. I lived in a mental hospital. The vice president of the hospital, Dr. Lee Yun-suk, was also my supervising doctor. Ever since I had been sent there at 12 years old, he had been raping me. Oh, Jesus. I used to cry out loud in my room and hide, but they would scream at me to shut up. I tried keeping a diary to relieve my stress, but I realized the nurses would read it behind my back. When I was feeling extremely desperate, I would pick up the pen and stab myself with it. Jesus. I forced myself not to cry, no matter how painful it was. It was an exercise. After a while, I gradually became numb to the pain. Oh, you poor kid. I just want to hug you so... I just want to, like, adopt this child. That way, it would be less painful when I had to go to that room again. Most of the nurses in the hospital were women, but I did come to know one male nurse. His name was Lee Young-chul. The other nurses said that he was the nephew of Lee Yun-suk, and that was the only reason that he got the job. Every Tuesday night, he would take me to Lee Young-suk's office. He would then just wait outside until it was over. He would then bring me back to my room. One day, he noticed my scars. He could tell that those were not caused by his uncle. After he found out that I had been hurting myself, he decided to confiscate my pen. Coward. He knew what his uncle had been doing to me. And I also knew that he had read my diaries too. He was too afraid to stop his uncle, but he would take my pen away. I closed the door, threw myself at his feet, held onto his legs, and began crying at the top of my lungs. As expected, he panicked and touched my head with his hands, trying to console me. Since that moment, he had become an ally of mine. As an ally, Lee Young-chul would sometimes use his limited power to get me some small privileges. For instance, I could walk in the garden a little longer than the others. If I could hold on a little longer, maybe I could even find a chance to escape from here. Just when the tiniest ray of hope was beginning to show, I heard a piece of horrible news. My mom had died. I overheard it from the nurses. None of them would even tell me the news to my face, but they would gossip about me behind my back, commenting on what a poor child I was. I didn't want their pathetic sympathy. I just wanted Mom. For the last 2 years, no one had ever visited me. Why had Mom never come to visit me? I knew why. It must have something to do with Dad. He sold me off first, kept torturing Mom at home, and prevented her from visiting me. He was not my dad. He was a bad person, a monster. I wanted to kill him. I pretended that I hadn't heard the news. Every night that I would cover my face with a blanket so the nurses wouldn't notice me crying. In secret, however, I began to plan my escape. Another Tuesday night. In a room without light. There was only pale moonlight. He and I, two people. Everything was exactly the same as 2 years ago, except for the lack of the sinister smell in the air. I had long given up the fight, so he had no longer needed something like that to subdue me. But this night wouldn't be the same as usual. He didn't expect me to pick up the chair and throw it at his head. He pushed me to the ground. Lee Young-suk was outraged. He slapped me square in the face twice with both of his hands. I fell to the ground. Everything looked like a blur, and I didn't have any more strength to fight back. The chair only broke the phone behind him. I knew I had to be physically stronger to have a chance. But the horrible diet and the mental and physical torture that I had been subjected to was only making me weaker and weaker every day. The door opened. I didn't have to look to know that it was Lee Young-chol. He had seen this scene countless times. He isn't feeling well today. Shall we wait until another day? Hey, pigs were flying. When did he start defending me? I chuckled twice, despite my bleeding lip. Who gave you permission to speak? Facing the rage of his uncle, the little bit of courage that Lee Young-chol had mustered up crumbled immediately. He walked out of the room in silence and closed the door behind him. Nothing had changed. Lee Young-suk took off his belt and gave me an unusual lesson, followed by the usual routine. Nothing had changed. No, that wasn't true. Something had changed. I had changed. I was no longer the same kid from 2 years ago. Even though I couldn't really remember what I had been like back then. Nevertheless, I knew one thing for sure. Even if I became a pile of worthless human garbage, I would not stay here forever. I wanted to go home. I had to go home. God, do you hear my wish? Park Sang-gun. I hear you, kiddo. I hear you, and I'm gonna try my best for you. Because you should not be living in this horrible situation. Seriously, this kid breaks my heart. I'm so freaking mad. What was that? Alright, I was lying still on my bed with my eyes closed. I could feel the breeze coming and going. The annoying mosquitoes kept interrupting my thoughts. Damn pests. I flicked the bloody body of a mosquito away like a small booger. Dinner time. A small tray was pushed inside through a tiny window. A bowl of rice, a plate of cabbage, 2 pieces of fried chicken, and a banana. Why do I only have 1 piece of chicken? The fat man in the opposite cell yelled at the guard who was delivering the meals. He didn't get an answer. I picked up the banana from the tray and started peeling it. My diet had actually become much healthier ever since I had been sent here. I had never had a meal on time back at the police station. And the food was always burgers, chickens, fries, and occasional leftovers that had been around for far too long. There had been a few times that I had got to eat some nice meals, though, when Chang Jung-min would bring over some of his homemade bentos. The kid would always say something like, "A healthy body is necessary to defend justice," which made him sound like a whiny old lady. But I was starting to miss that kid. I had no idea how he'd been doing. He must be in a lot of trouble right now. Or maybe not. The people who had framed me must be keeping him out of this case altogether. What had happened to Min Jun was all my fault. On the day that I went to rescue Ji-yeon, I had tried to get Min Jun to join the mission, but I hadn't been able to reach him. The kid had always been the one person who would never miss a call. It was the first time ever that I couldn't find him. I should have realized that something might have gone wrong then. He never showed up to the police station afterwards either. I told Chang Jung-min that Min Jun had been sick, but I honestly had no idea where he had been. It turned out that he was dead, and his body had been hidden in my room. He must have known something, and they had killed him for it. The murderer must have also known that it was the same day as the anniversary of the lieutenant's death. He even knew that I would be very drunk that day, so he would have a better chance of success. 2 birds with 1 stone. I had some idea who that bastard could be, but I had no evidence at the moment. I needed to find a way to get out of here first. A tall shadow moved on the cell floor. The guard who had brought the tray was still here. He was watching me eat, almost like he was monitoring me. His name was Young Hyuk. At least, that was what I heard the other guards calling him. He was over 2 meters tall and very muscular. He must be the most menacing person in the detention center. Anyone who stood before him might feel like they were standing in front of an impenetrable wall. However, Yang Hyuk had a secret. Detention Center Number 6 was a prison that was used to exclusively hold police officers who had been in trouble. It did not belong to the police system, and therefore was not under the supervision of the police bureaucracy. Therefore, everyone who had been thrown in here had to go through a ritual. The fat man in the opposite cell was locked up because of a 50 million won bribe. Every day he and I were forced to strip naked and were blasted by cold water. It wasn't that much different than the cold shower to me. But the fat man, he would be screaming bloody murder every time that the water hit him. The more he screamed, however, the more excited the guards would get. For them, it had turned into a kind of entertainment. Yang Hyuk's reaction, however, seemed a little different than the rest of the cheering mob. One of my best buddies was gay. I could sense the same vibe from him. The fat man yelled at me in a lowered voice. "Hey, can I trade this banana for your chicken?" "Screw you." I suddenly had an idea, but I needed somebody's help. 20 minutes later, Yang Hyuk came back to take the trays away. There was something extra in the tray, a small paper note. Now, all I could do was wait until the middle of the night. 12 a.m. Most people here had fallen asleep, but I was sitting in a chair in the interrogation room that had seen numerous occupants. A piece of yellow tape covered my mouth. My hands had been cuffed behind my back. Many brand new scars had been added to the current collection on my body. I had made a mistake. Yang Hyuk was standing under the fluorescent light with a belt in his hands. His uniform was now soaking wet with sweat. Just a moment ago, the belt had hit me on my left eye, which was so bruised that I couldn't even open it anymore. I absolutely hated these simple-minded meatheads, especially when they could overpower me. If he had simply agreed to my proposal, I would have let my buddies find him a few handsome guys as a thank you, then everybody would have been happy. Now he was just torturing me for nobody's benefit. Well, since enticement had not worked out, that left me with the only other choice: threats. Although, how was I supposed to threaten him under the current circumstances? Should I summon that guy? That didn't seem like a good idea. Yang Hyuk seemed like he would never get tired. The pain he had inflicted on me was almost to the edge of what I could tolerate. I had been trying my best to control it, but in the end, he still woke up. The light from the swinging bulb cast some moving shadows on his impatient face. Idiot. I took out the pen and stabbed it into him. The pen went right through his eye socket and then into his brain. He was dead in an instant. So was my consciousness. When I woke up, I found myself back in the cell. It was a different one this time, and there were more guards at the door. I felt my pocket. As usual, there was another note. I opened it, and it said, "Your clothes stink. I told them to get you 2 new sets." That bastard had landed me into such a big mess, and all he cared about was some clean clothes. I now had another life on my hands. Min Jun's case was still highly inconclusive, but this one was much more straightforward. I had indeed killed Yang Hyuk. How could this have happened? Damn it. Gang Bakya. Alright. He didn't expect me to pick up the chair and throw it at his head. Pushed me to the ground. I took the pen and stabbed it into him. Okay. Let's try that. Everything I did wasn't able to stop Yang Hyuk. I lost consciousness when Yang Hyuk eventually pinned me down to the floor. When I woke up, I found myself back in the cell. I felt my pocket and there was no notes this time. Usually that guy would leave me a message before he left. Although, there were a couple of times before that he had left without a note. I had been living with him for 6 years. Oh, achievement unlocked. Boy interrupted. I still couldn't figure him out. I plunged the pen deep into his throat. He stumbled back, pulled out the pen, and threw it onto the floor. Lots of blood was gushing out of the hole in his neck. I could see that he wanted to kill me very badly. However, with one hand covering his wound, he tripped and lost his balance, making a mess of his office. Soon he was lying on the floor with his eyes wide open, but he was no longer breathing. He was dead, but that was too good for him. Before anyone noticed what happened, I quickly searched the entire room. I found the hospital key card, some cash, and a Swiss Army knife. I ripped his clothes and pants off of him and put them on myself so that mine wouldn't get bloody. Then I cut his thing off. I stuffed it into his mouth. In that moment, I felt so relieved. Even the air in this room felt suddenly cleansed. I saw the window and slid down the drain pipe. The security guard on duty was watching TV in his office at the main gate. I ducked down and snuck past his window, opened the main gate with a swipe of the key card, and ran outside. Finally, I was free. Finally, I could go home. I walked all the way home with the flimsy clothes that I was wearing. I walked past Alex's seafood store. I walked past Sumi's family bakery. I walked past the tobacco and alcohol store that had forgotten to lock up. I picked up the most expensive bottle of vodka from the shelf. It was for my dad. Twice a week, 8 times a month, multiplies by 12, 90, 96, times 2, 192. Let me round up to 200. I was walking briskly. At the same time, I was quietly calculating how many times Mom had been hit by Dad for the past 2 years. Just as an estimate. It was almost sunrise when I finally saw my familiar yet strange home. As I expected, Dad was sound asleep. I changed into Mom's favorite coat. Then I went into the kitchen and picked up the knife that Mom had used to cut meat. At last, I came to my dad's bed. Dad, I'm home. 1, 2, 3, 66, 67. The sound of the knife going in and out of his body was almost a musical melody. 122, 123, 124, 199, 200. Blood was splashing all over the bed and the floor. It was disgusting. I sprinkled the vodka that I brought home all around the bed and the room. And then I lit a match. Bye, Dad. Bye, Mom. The small flame was jumping, oh my god, and growing. It was becoming bigger and bigger. In the end, it grew so big that it swallowed this place I used to call home. I had never seen anything more beautiful. Phoenix from the ashes. From the ashes, I would start a brand new life.
That's your rank S, kid? Holy crap! Well! Then, let's go back to him!
Young Hyuk was hit straight in the face by the chair. He lost his balance and fell to the ground. He watched as I broke the handcuffs with my bare hands, and he couldn't process what he was seeing. 1, 2, 3. I stomped his bloody face with my feet over and over again. I had once seen myself break another unfortunate bastard's arm with one stomp. If I kept going, he was going to die. I stepped away from the corner of the dark room and walked towards the center. The mysterious, invisible force appeared again almost immediately. It was as if there were numerous dark hands that were pushing on my shoulders, grabbing at my ankles, trying to stop me from walking into the light and regaining control of my body. I was pushed down to the ground, but I kept crawling. More hands were grabbing my feet, my legs, and dragging me to the opposite direction. I could not give in. I would not give in. At last I grabbed my feet. Enough, you bastard! Get out of here! The hands suddenly scattered away. I could see clearly again. Young Hyuk was crouching in the corner looking at me with fear. He reminded me of a frightened little rabbit. I had scared him. And he had not realized that the person standing in front of him was a different one now. There was a wallet on the floor. It wasn't mine. I picked it up. There was a few bills, a credit card, and a receipt for a gay bar from only a few days ago. As well as a family photo. A beautiful wife, a lovely daughter. What a happy family. The happy ladies surely had no idea of the secret life that the husband and father of the family had been leading. The little rabbit had no other choice. Oh my god. Okay. Well, I'm gonna end this episode here for today. Hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to see more videos from me, then don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching.